3 weeks ago,
Good to be with you,
President
Dana.
Trump named 3 people in that Truth Social post to Attorney General Pam Bondi that he wanted prosecuted. 2 of them have now been indicted. You're not only the Judiciary Chair, you also lead a subcommittee on weaponization of federal government. So will you be looking into this?
Well, look, I think that this Justice Department is applying the facts to the law. I mean, if John Bolton, a federal judge, thought there was probable cause when they searched John Bolton's house, you had mentioned him, that he mishandled classified information, apply the facts to the law. We'll see if they prosecute there. We know with Letitia James, for example, that you can't say it's your secondary residence and then, in fact, make it an investment property. It looks like she did that. They're applying the facts to the law, and there's that investigation. And, of course, we know with Jim Comey that he specifically hired this individual, Daniel Richman, to leak information. He laundered information through Richman, leaked that information out there. The Comey memos, for goodness sake, went through Mr. Richman. And then Comey, when he testifies, says something different. So that's why he's being prosecuted. So this is...
Think about it. A former president publicly demanding the prosecution of his rivals, and within weeks, the Justice Department delivers. That's not something we see every day in American politics. For Trump's supporters, this feels like long-awaited accountability, a sign that those who they believe abused power under past administrations are finally being held responsible. But for critics, it's a chilling example of what happens when political power starts influencing the justice system. They see it as a dangerous moment when the scales of justice begin to tip under the weight of personal grudges. Attorney General Pam Bondi insists this isn't about politics at all. She says it's about facts, evidence, and the rule of law. She points to Comey's alleged false testimony before Congress, to Letitia James's questionable property dealings, and to John Bolton's handling of classified material. In her view, this is what a functioning Justice Department looks like, one that applies the law equally to everyone, regardless of title or reputation. But here's the twist that makes this story so explosive. The same man who once claimed the Justice Department was weaponized against him is now being accused of doing exactly the same thing.
Chairman, you were talking about the facts and some of the issues that went before the grand jury and allowed for the indictments in the case of James and Comey. But the question is beyond what's happening in the courtrooms or in the Justice Department. It's what's happening between the President of the United States and the Justice Department and these U.S. attorneys. And just kind of look at it big picture, the President pushed out the U.S. attorney overseeing the Comey and James cases. The President himself appointed this U.S. attorney, and that person was a Trump supporter.
Which he has the right to do.
Right, he has the right to do. But the President did so because he thought that this man was not pursuing these cases against his political enemies. So my question is, given the fact that the President has been so public about his desire for the prosecution of these people who he says are his political enemies, how is that just following the law inside the Justice Department? Isn't this the political weaponization that you talk about?
Let's look at the heart of it. For years, Trump and his allies accused President Biden's Justice Department of targeting conservatives, silencing opposition voices, and manipulating investigations to protect political allies. Fast forward to today, and the roles appear reversed. Now Trump's Justice Department is the one bringing indictments against his long-time critics like James Comey and Letitia James. Supporters call it long overdue justice. Opponents call it pure hypocrisy. Jim Jordan says this moment marks a turning point, a return to fairness. He argues that for once, the DOJ isn't playing politics, it's simply enforcing the law. He points to hard evidence, Comey's alleged false statements to Congress, Letitia James's questionable property claims, and insists that this is about accountability, not revenge. But here's where things get complicated. So let me ask you, how do you see it when the Justice Department goes after political figures? Do you see accountability or corruption? Do you think any administration can truly act independently when the president's words carry so much weight? Or is America now trapped in a cycle where every new government inherits a justice system built for revenge?
No, you got to go to the facts of the case. The president has the prerogative to say what he wants, and he will do that. No one's ever doubted that the president will say what's on his mind and frankly do what he told the American voters he was going to do. So that's one thing. But this is about applying the facts to the law, and that's exactly what's taking place in this Justice Department. You cannot argue with the fact Jim Comey said one thing to under oath in front of the United States Congress. That's what he's being charged for: false statements to the Congress, 18 U.S.C. 1001. You cannot argue that he did that, particularly when you know the facts from the Inspector General with this individual, Daniel
So
Richmond,
do you
who Comey
believe that the
specifically
Justice
hired
Department
to launder information to folks like you in the press?
Do you believe that those cases? Are you worried, as an attorney and somebody who understands how these cases work, that what the president's comments are doing is actually undermining the cases when they actually come before a judge and jury?
I mean, we'll see how that all shakes. I'm not worried about that. Again, they're going to prosecute the case. Mr. Comey's presumed innocent. That's one of the great things about our system. And they will present the evidence in the court, and we'll see what happens as they move forward. But I am comfortable with them moving forward. I am comfortable with the indictment because I think when you look at the facts.
And you're comfortable with the president's role as well?
This is warranted.
Just to button that, you're comfortable with the president's role?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with this president. I mean, you talk about we're celebrating today what's happening in the Middle East, what he's done for these families.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in this issue.
I'm so comfortable with the president. I'm comfortable with the president and how he's handled his entire responsibilities with this issue, with foreign policy, with the border, with tax policy, you name it.
I want to ask you about a flood of videos that we're all seeing on social media showing immigration officers across the U.S. using pretty aggressive tactics. There was one from Friday showing agents pinning a Chicago TV station employee to the ground. She was later released without charges. Another shows ICE agents shooting an unarmed pastor in the head with pepper balls. There were countless more showing agents tackling people, pulling them from cars, shoving journalists, detaining U.S. citizens, questioning their citizenship. Do you have any concerns as you see all this about how ICE and other immigration agencies are conducting themselves?
Jim Jordan defended the move as tough but necessary, pointing to America's $37 trillion debt and claiming that the administration had no choice but to make cuts. To him, it was fiscal responsibility. To others, it was political punishment, an act meant to pressure Congress by putting real lives on the line. So where do you stand on this? Do you see these immigration raids and layoffs as strong leadership or as overreach from a government pushing its limits? Are these examples of order being restored or signs that power is being used as a weapon against the powerless? Here's my take. When you see journalists thrown to the ground, pastors shot with pepper balls, and career workers laid off in the dark of night, something bigger is happening than just policy enforcement. It's a reflection of what happens when political agendas begin to shape the way justice and governance are carried out. It's about control, not just law. And maybe that's the real story here. Not just the raids, not just the firings, but the message they send. That power in the wrong hands or under the wrong pressure doesn't just enforce the law, it defines it. And when that happens, democracy isn't leading with courage anymore. It's ruling with fear.
Look, I don't know the specifics of those examples you gave. What I do know is these ICE agents are under tremendous pressure. Many times you talked about, some people have raised a concern about them wearing masks and different things. Many times the Antifa people who are protesting against them in these, in Chicago, in these ICE-free zones, according to the mayor of Chicago. I think they're functioning and working under extreme pressure. I think they're doing a good job by and large. I don't know the specifics of the examples you just cited.
Are you going to look into it?
We're going to look into the whole situation where you have these mayors who are
are you going to look
pressuring
into
back
the way
against
that
these
ICE
sanctuary
is
cities,
conducting
ICE-free
itself?
zones, where they're being harassed by Antifa protesters who are wearing masks and doing all kinds of things, where I think threatening the
so you'll only
actual
look into that side and not to make sure that federal law enforcement, federal
I'm not familiar with the three. I think you gave three examples.
Well, those were just some.
Three, but
there are lots of them.
Okay, well, we're the Judiciary Committee. We have oversight over immigration policy. We'll look into all this. But I think the ICE agents are doing the Lord's work. They're doing what the president promised the American people he was going to do when he ran for the job and was elected in a big way. So I think they're doing their duty. What's interesting is the pushback they're getting in these sanctuary jurisdictions and these ICE-free zones, where many times they're coming to, they've sent a detainer to the facility and they will release the person to the streets, the bad guy to the streets, and won't work with ICE at all.
Mr.
That
Chairman,
is a big problem, something we are definitely concerned about.